From aged mill sites harboring disturbing histories and all manner of resulting restless spirits, to prominent government buildings that have played host to the likes of multiple US presidents, and that are rumored to be stalked by the dead after dark, are you prepared to brave our second list of picks for some of the most chillingly haunted places in Rhode Island? Number 5. The Breakers. The Breakers, located off of Ochre Point Avenue in Newport, Rhode Island, is a Gilded Age mansion widely recognized as the most opulent house in the whole of the aged city, as well as one of the most visited attractions in the state. Historically, the first version of this impressive abode was designed and constructed in 1878 under Pierre Lorillard IV. In 1885, the property would be purchased by Cornelius Vanderbilt II, and sadly, on November 25th of 1892, this original home would burn to the ground, after which Vanderbilt would hire prominent architect Richard Morris Hunt to reconstruct the expanse out of fire-resistant materials, a project which wasn't finished until 1895. In 1899, Vanderbilt would pass on from cerebral hemorrhage due to stroke at just 55, after which the Breakers was left to his wife, Alice Gwynn Vanderbilt, who would join her husband in death in 1934 at the age of 89, resulting in the passing of this prestigious estate to her youngest daughter, Gladys. In 1948, the Preservation Society of Newport County would lease the site from Gladys. In 1972, they would purchase the home and a bulk of its antiquities from Gladys's daughter, Sylvia, under the stipulation she be allowed to remain on site for her life's duration. And upon Sylvia's passing, touchingly, in 1998, the Preservation Society would actually agree to allow her family to retain space on the 3rd floor until 2018, when it was officially spec'd as unsafe for residential use. In the present, the Breakers remains open to the public, offering touring options, a range of annual events, and a wealth of educational materials. In accordance with both history and local legend, following Alice Vanderbilt's death in 1934, whispers of encounters with her spirit, clad in a lovely dress from the early 20th century, would begin surfacing from guests, staff, and family alike, while across the expanse, odd happenings, including objects sighted moving on their own, random cold spots, and furniture discovered rearranged, were all attributed to her presence. Incidentally, to date, paranormal researchers have not been allowed to conduct investigations on site, as controlling interests are aware of their resident specter and actually wish not to disturb her, nor detract from the estate's presentation as a prominent mansion dwelling rather than just another haunted house. Number 4. Providence City Hall. Providence City Hall, located off of Dorrance Street in Providence, Rhode Island, is a government building acting as center to the city's municipal government body that comprises its very own iconic portion of the downtown Providence Historic District. Historically, when Providence was incorporated in 1832, most local business dealings were held at the Market House. However, as the city grew, this site would become overcrowded, and in 1845, planning for a new structure was started. Eventually, a plot would be selected and purchased. However, construction would be delayed in light of the space being utilized as a theater for a short time. In 1874, this theater was closed and demolished, and from 1875 to 1878, a new city hall was constructed. Notably, on August 23rd of 1902, President Theodore Roosevelt would speak at this new hall, and on November 7th of 1960, President John F. Kennedy would follow suit. Preceding growing concerns revolving around the structure's potential demolition through the mid-1970s, Mayor Buddy Cianci would issue a full rehabilitation and restoration of the site, a project which wasn't completed until the 1990s. In the present, the Providence City Hall remains in use by the city's government, harboring the offices of countless city departments alongside those of city council and of the mayor, and is open to the public for viewing with regular touring options. While it's unknown who or what is responsible for the bulk of the inexplicable happenings experienced on site, some suspect activity may be a result of souls tied to the building from lives lived out long ago, and those frequenting its bounds have reported disembodied voices from empty spaces, footsteps and commotion from vacant rooms, instances of furniture moving by itself, and accounts of the elevator acting on its own accord. In 1878, Providence City Hall was completed under the direct supervision of then-Mayor Thomas A. Doyle, who passed on in 1886, and who was honored with a massive wake on site. Many claim Doyle's spirit remains at the place he so loved, and several have described feeling his wise and calming presence at times. Also reported from this weathered hall are instances of locked doors, drawers, and cabinets opening and closing on their own, extreme cold spots and inexplicable breezes felt within sealed rooms, phantom wafts of cigar smoke, and the unnerving sensations of being watched, followed, or even touched by a presence unseen. Number 3. The White Horse Tavern. The White Horse Tavern, located off of the corner of Farewell and Marlborough Streets in Newport, Rhode Island, is a historic tavern believed to actually be the oldest operating restaurant in the United States and the 10th oldest in the whole of the world. Historically, in 1652, an initial building would be erected on site under English immigrant Francis Brinley, and in 1673, he would sell the lot to one William Mays, who would expand the structure to act as a tavern. Over the years, this tavern would be utilized for a number of purposes, including under the Rhode Island Grand Assembly for meetings, as a courthouse, and even as a city hall. In 1687, Mays would obtain a tavern license. Through the early 18th century, the business would be taken over by son William Mays Jr., and in 1730, the site was re-established under then-owner Jonathan Nichols as the White Horse Tavern. Through the American Revolution, during the British occupation of Newport, and right around the Battle of Rhode Island, which occurred on August 29th of 1778, Tory and British troops would take shelter within the hardy establishment. Following the war, the property would serve a number of purposes, including as a boarding house for a time, and in 1952, Newport's prominent Van Buren family would shell out the funding necessary for the Preservation Society of Newport to fully restore the aged building. Following restorations, the property would be sold to once again fulfill its purpose as a popular local tavern and restaurant, which it remains as into the present, offering a relaxingly rich and rustic atmosphere and unparalleled drink and dining options. Paranormal activity surrounding the White Horse is believed to stem from the many spirits of those patrons, employees, and others tied to the bar in lives since past, and many frequenting its bounds report disembodied voices and footsteps from empty spaces, orbs and ghostly forms captured in photography, and the feelings of being watched or followed by presences unseen. One popular story tells that through the 1700s, a man died mysteriously in one of the site's second-floor lodgings, after which no one could figure out where he'd come from or what his name was. An entity dressed in clothing from this same era, suspected to be this restless soul, has been encountered both lounging near the fireplace and within the men's restroom. Also reported across tavern grounds are accounts from those using the restrooms who have claimed to have heard a little girl crying near, encounters with the specter of a mysterious woman who usually disappears near the fireplace, and the perturbing sensation of being gripped on the shoulder by an invisible yet infinitely strong hand. Number 2. The Old Slater Mill National Historic Landmark. The Old Slater Mill National Historic Landmark, located off of Roosevelt Avenue on the banks of the Blackstone River out of Pawtucket, Rhode Island, is a historic textile mill complex recognized as the first water-powered cotton spinning mill in North America to operate on the Arkwright spinning system, which was developed by Richard Arkwright. Historically, after apprenticing through his youth under industrialist Jedediah Strutt out of Belper, England, one Samuel Slater would immigrate to the US in 1789. Following which, he would be employed to produce a cotton spinner that utilized water power under Moses Brown of Providence, Rhode Island. Construction of this mill was completed in 1793 alongside the establishment of a dam, water wheel, and waterway, and upon its finishing, Slater would hire children and families to work at his business, a pattern which would subsequently be used at other sites throughout the Blackstone Valley. Starting in 1801, the mill would welcome a slew of additions, and again in 1835, and from 1869 to 1872, a massive expansion was added to its northern end. The mill would continue to spin cotton until 1895, after which it was utilized for various purposes. In 1923, the Old Slater Mill Association would take over management of the site and would launch a series of restorations. In 1955, the property would be open to the public as a museum, and in 1978, as part of the venue, the adjacent Wilkinson Mill, which was constructed from 1810 to 1811, would be fully restored. In the present, the Slater Mill acts as a museum site, as a center for education, and as a music venue, and is comprised of 5 acres on both sides of the Blackstone, which include a dam, the 2 aforementioned mills, and the Sylvanus Brown House. Quite classically, this aged business property is rumored to be haunted by the spirits of its many past workers, some of whom met unimaginably horrible fates amongst the gears of unrelenting machinery, as well as by the ghost of Slater himself, and those braving its bounds have told of extreme cold spots, of disembodied whispers, and of heavy bootsteps heard hurrying through spaces that are completely vacant. Chillingly, Slater would have children as young as 4 working at his operation, with the bulk majority of his crews ranging from 7 to 16 years in age, and because of their small frames, many of the youngest would be utilized to fish things from dangerous equipment, which, might we add, wasn't even stopped for safety. Many of these youthful individuals were sucked into the bellies of powerful devices, and to date, it's told that if one listens closely enough, they might still be able to hear these lost children's tortured screams on the winds. The Wilkinson Mill is supposedly haunted by several malevolent entities, being by an unseen hostile presence that makes those near feel in danger, by a shadowy spirit that stalks lone walkers, and by a being in the basement that's been known to leave scratches on those who cross it. Interestingly enough, long-standing lore tells that one of these spirits belonged to a man killed long ago by the powerful water wheel. Lastly, the Sylvanus Brown House, which was constructed in 1758 elsewhere and was moved to the site in 1971, is said to be haunted by the ghost of a little girl named Becca, who it's told is a friendly and playful presence that enjoys interacting with the living at great lengths. Number 1. The Rhode Island School of Design. The Rhode Island School of Design, located off of College Street in Providence, Rhode Island, is a private institution promoting the education of arts and design that hosts on its campus the Rhode Island School of Design Museum, which in turn houses a range of sweeping collections and is recognized as one of the most expansive of all of the college art museums in the whole of the United States. Historically, the coeducational Rhode Island School of Design was first founded in 1877 under one Helen Adelia Rowe Metcalf, who was a strong proponent of the advancement of availability and equal career and educational opportunities for women everywhere, and the institution's first class of 43 would boast a majority female student base. The same year, the RISD Museum was also founded under the belief that artists, their art, and the institutions surrounding them all played significant roles in the broadening of civic engagement and in the forming of more open societies as a whole. And to date, with a collection of over 100,000 works, this museum actually holds the title of being the 3rd largest art museum attached to an educational facility. Over its first 15 years, RISD would be hosted within the Hoppin Homestead building in downtown Providence. However, on October 24th of 1893, it would dedicate a new brick structure at 11 Waterman Street on College Hill as its first permanent campus. And while a number of early school buildings are grouped on the western end of the hill between Brown and the Providence River, more recently, the college has expanded downslope across the river and into downtown. The Rhode Island School of Design remains open into the present, accommodating around 2,500 students and boasting an assortment of famous alumni, including James Franco, Seth MacFarlane, David Byrne, Brian Selznick, and more. Through its lengthy existence, like many other colleges, RISD has been surrounded in a mess of campus legends and ghost stories that have been passed down through generations, with faculty, students, and visitors reporting a range of inexplicable encounters across its grounds. Those visiting the Dexter House, which was formerly a morgue, have told of run-ins with friendly presences that move objects and even open doors for the living. In the Barstow House, the turquoise and red rooms are rumored to harbor an entity that causes coldness and bouts of depression, and at night spectral silhouettes have been spied materializing in mirrors. And on the green space that formerly held Farnham Hall, many have described phantom whispers, disembodied footsteps heard through the grass at night, and strong poltergeist activity. The Dunnell House is purported to host 2 apparitions. The first, an aggressive phantom that topples trash cans, messes with electronics, and often manifests as an ominous shadow in the basement. And the second, a female apparition that's been sighted rushing up and down the back stairwell, usually seemingly from the 2nd floor. Within the Nightingale House, many have captured orbs in photography, and its rather intimidating resident ghost has been known to move furniture, cause chills, and has even tried to push several down the stairs. While at the Pardon Miller House, the specters of 2 children have been encountered in the basement. The spirit of a woman has been spied wandering about, and disembodied voices are frequently heard from vacant spaces. Lastly, Homer Hall has picked up a reputation as one of the campus's most paranormally active locales. On its 4th floor, the spirit of a woman has been known to manifest in the bedrooms, leaving droplets of blood in her wake, while the ghost of a man suspected to be the victim of a suicide has been known to change music selections and even smash windows. Across the 2nd floor, the phantom of an elderly man has been sighted wandering about and often walks straight through walls. In the lounge, a shadowy silhouette has been known to manifest, sending electronics into a frenzy. And in the underground passage that connects Homer to Nickerson, it's told an aggressive being stalks those who wander alone. Taking its fascinating history and impressive slew of associated ghost stories into account, we felt the Rhode Island School of Design was the perfect choice as this list's most haunted place in Rhode Island. Thanks for joining us for our 2nd list of picks for some of the most haunted places in Rhode Island. If you enjoyed our histories and ghost stories, subscribe to our channel, like this upload, and share us with anyone you feel could use a good scare. We'll catch you next time.